Hello and welcome to Network. My name is Pumela Zondi with your technology and social media news. Today, I'm at the Pietermaritzburg Botanical Gardens, and this is where we'll be telling you about what's been happening in the tech space in the last couple of days. It is SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. News Network at sabc.co.za on email. This week, our Twitter poll is asking you about Meta's voice assistant that they say they'll be testing out. Now, Meta owns Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. Results of that are coming up later in the program. Firstly, here's what's coming up in this program. With social media platforms now deciding to delete some tweets and perhaps some accounts when they don't like what's been shared, we're asking whether these social media platforms are trying to control the conversation. We look at the technology of eSIM cards. And in our discussion this week, we look at what some are calling a crypto winter. A few months ago, Twitter temporarily suspended the account of Economic Freedom Fighters leader Julius Malema. That's because they did not like what he had posted at the time. And then if we go to the United States of America, you would remember that the account of former President Donald Trump has been completely removed forever. And any account he opens might be removed forever as well. If we go to Nigeria, they removed a post by President Muhammadu Buhari because they found that it incited violence. But they're back in Nigeria now after negotiations with the government, after the government had removed the platform from the country when they did that. But are these social media companies trying to control the conversation when they remove posts, accounts, or temporarily suspend people? The Twitter ban in Nigeria lasted about 7 months. At the time, there were negotiations between the country's government and the social media giant. As 2022 started, it was announced that Twitter was to return to Nigeria, but with a condition that there would be an office in Nigeria. Now, Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project says they are going to court to demand that they publicly announce the full agreement that led to the return of Twitter. With these bans and blockages, some feel that the social media company is trying to decide what the conversation should be.
Twitter and many other social media platforms do control and have a certain direction in which they want public conversations to go towards. You may look on issues of human rights is maybe defined by the West in some cases. You may also look at the issue of COVID-19, the alleged fake news and other alternative views that people have been presenting, and also around viruses.
But there are others who feel such regulations is right because for years, people could share what they wanted on social media, including incitement to violence. With the move in Nigeria and with Donald Trump allowed to stay on until he was no longer American president, there are those who believe it's profit over what they say they're really doing in the regulation of what people post.
In terms of preservation of peace and human rights, they need to do that, but ultimately they need to create a conducive environment in which to make profits. It's not that these social media are formed just to take care of the public interest and the public needs, public peace and health and the like. There is a profit motive behind the founding of these companies, and this has to be maintained and sustained at certain costs. Sometimes the cost will be to maintain or to advocate for peace or to advocate for an environment where health is encouraged.
When Twitter went offline in Nigeria, small and medium-sized businesses who use the platform to market their work say they suffered.
Do my best, be consistent. They said, do this, post more, talk to more people. I've done everything I needed to do, but then I was able to do that because I had the platform.
There were even protests in the country because of the shutdown.
The federal government and the rulership of Nigeria is so dumb that they have forgotten the economical value of Twitter.
Over the years, there have been various African countries that have had various social media bans for many reasons and for different periods of time. It's the first time that the platform has negotiated with a government in the region in this manner. There was a time when SIM cards were really expensive in South Africa and were a rare commodity to find. And then as time went on, they became cheaper and cheaper. They became smaller and smaller, and they became something you could find just about anywhere. But now we probably could be moving to a space where the physical SIM card could be a thing of the past. Here's producer Sandile Hlangane telling us about the technology of eSIM cards.
We are all familiar with the SIM card that we have to pop out from our previous phones and insert into our new device to get wireless service. But things are changing. Telecoms companies say they are launching eSIM technology, which will allow users with eSIM-enabled devices to connect to the internet seamlessly.
eSIM essentially is an embedded SIM card, all right? So it's embedded in the sense that it's not like the physical SIM cards that we're used to, where you have to physically get a SIM card and insert it manually into your phone, right? So this one is actually built into the phone. So if you remember how we used to buy phones that come with a separate battery and you can change batteries in and out, but now the smartphones are already coming with the batteries as part of the SIM, as part of the phone. So that's exactly how the eSIM is well.
This technology will play a critical role in mobile connectivity and Internet of Things.
Depending on where you're rolling out your IoT infrastructure or your IoT devices and services, you still have a limitation of, being dependent on a single network, right? Whereas with us, again, it's completely agnostic. It picks on the most available or the strongest signal in that area.
Analytica says it has developed eSIM technology infrastructure solution for seamless and stable communication between devices.
We've built a telco platform, right? A telecommunications platform that looks at addressing issues of barrier to entry in that industry. As you have seen and noted in the last couple of years, that barrier to entry for the telco in the telco space is very, very high.
Investors accepted the proposition and doled out an investment for the startup.
I think there are huge barriers to entry in telecommunications. You can think about the billions of rands that the spectrum will go for, and the billions of investment in infrastructure that has to follow the acquisition of a spectrum. But Analytica's had an innovative, disruptive way of participating, which really drew my attention. That here's something to support and take forward.
Businesses that use IoT systems are already benefiting from eSIM technology.
We are on the innovation edge of basically launching a new network in South Africa called Sigfox. Our devices are low-power devices, and their battery life is extremely long. These IoT devices enable additional security measures to be implemented into farms, businesses, homes, to enable basically additional security for those areas of implementation.
Today, if a business needs to operate a certain technology in another country, it programs tech remotely to connect to a local operator in the target country.
We've got an oil and gas customer in Angola, and especially with the current situation, to get visas, to get access to another country, to go and help the customer fault find some situation that's come up on site could take 2 weeks. And as you can imagine now, they've got reduced production for this complete period. We've implemented an augmented reality solution where we can support the customer remotely.
Telkom Mobile has become the latest local telco to introduce embedded subscriber identity module support for its customers. The tech also allows users to activate their tariff plan from a carrier without having to use a physical SIM.
the more operators are able to reduce complexity, the more they're able to reduce costs in terms of operations, in terms of capex, the more they're able to then translate that into cost savings and into better and affordable pricing for consumers.
Analysts say with time, eSIM is expected to extend to a wider range of devices, allowing machine-to-machine connectivity with an array of technologies used in the workspace, at home, and in connected vehicles.
We've heard the government talking about a possibility of introducing coding in schools a couple of times. It's a skill that's needed today. Here's producer Lebo Mokomela telling us about the benefits of having this skill early on when someone is still a child.
We often believe that getting expensive devices like the smartphone or tablets are the only way to better prepare our little ones for this digital economy. However, there are alternatives that can help us form coding skills at foundation level, like building blocks.
The skills they're needing to learn are computational thinking skills, that ability to give and receive instruction. And this can happen from a young age, as young as in the ECD or early childhood development phase. This can be accomplished with devices like Tanks, which was developed at the Nelson Mandela University by Professor Jean Grayling. You can also use things like Legos, popsicle sticks to teach sequencing and pattern recognition.
An initiative by Play Africa, a children's museum here in Johannesburg, is using play to build science, technology, engineering, and math skills in South Africa's young learners. The STEM Seeds curriculum, as it is called, is aimed predominantly at learners aged 3 to 6 years old.
And STEM Seeds is this new early childhood curriculum that we've developed to show teachers, ECD teachers in particular, that you don't need to have fancy gear to teach STEM in your class. You have everything you need right now.
Lockdowns due to the COVID-19 pandemic exposed the country's digital divide, especially within the education sector. Learners with good internet connectivity, who were mostly based in urban areas, were able to continue with remote learning using online tools, while others, especially ones living in rural areas, fell behind. Folks says that a curriculum like STEM Seeds is socially inclusive regardless of background.
So we're starting by getting children introduced to key technology ideas without using tech. So teaching the foundations of computational thinking and computer science using sequencing and blocks and if-then games. So we don't need fancy tech to start laying that foundation. And by laying that foundation now, when children are a bit older, they'll be ready to jump straight into coding.
ECD educator Sihle Nyoni from a creche in Hillbrow, the heart of Johannesburg, says that she's impressed with this approach.
It seems like a very interesting program. It seems it will make even things easier for us in class with our children, in the form of we wouldn't be needing like resources that are expensive or anything, so we can pick any kind of things to use that are recyclable, things that we can pick from anywhere.
Research shows that a child's early years are a never-to-be-repeated window of opportunity for learning and brain development. What better time than now to instill digital skills in the early stages of our children's lives so that they are active players in STEM industries.
It's SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. News Network at sabc.co.za on email. After the break, we chat about cryptocurrency and what some are calling a cryptocurrency winter. It is SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. News Network at sabc.co.za on email. Welcome back. Now, Nigeria is Africa's biggest cryptocurrency market, and the government was worried that people were starting to run a parallel economy using cryptocurrency. So at a point, they then blocked people from using cryptocurrency and abandoning the naira. But the government there has launched what they're calling the e-naira. While many in different parts of the world have been trying to figure out how to properly use and invest in cryptocurrency, Nigerians have found them to be useful and more trustworthy than the naira, which has been unstable. Some started to use crypto in their businesses and to sell goods online, including art.
We're trying to keep the value of the art. So cryptocurrency currently is going on the right direction, and the world is jumping on it because we're in a digital world, like I said. So crypto is just something good for the arts to move forward. So that's the currency where people don't think that I'm paying too much or I'm paying less.
But in February 2021, the Nigerian government issued a directive to banks that they must block transactions that use cryptocurrency. This is because it was evident that many preferred that to the local currency, the naira.
Crypto is the future. Digital currency is the future. Everything is going digitalized now, and I think it's something we really need to roll with.
Realizing that young and tech-savvy Nigerians prefer crypto, the Nigerian government has responded by launching the first digital currency in Africa, the e-naira. African governments, like many others in the rest of the world, are still wary of adopting cryptos, which they can't quite regulate. To further this discussion with me is Bataung Kotsokwane, who is one of the writers at iAfrican. Hello, and thank you very much for being a part of our network, Bataung. Maybe if you can start by explaining what cryptocurrency is for those who are still in the dark.
It's a digital asset. Digital assets that are not centrally regulated. For example, with legal tender notes, as we know them, like the South African Rand or the United States dollar, they're controlled by the Reserve Bank or the Federal Bank, and they would control how many notes are issued, and then they also control the repo rate, the interest rate, and all those type of financial instruments related to the currency. In the form of digital currency, that regulation, that centralized regulation, is rather decentralized, and as opposed to fiat currency, digital currency is regulation is much more, how can I say, spread out, quote unquote regulation, because it's not really regulated. In the sense of Bitcoins and your Ethereums, we have what we call blockchains, and then blockchains are sort of ledgers that record transactions, and those transactions justify or affirm that 50 Rand has been given between myself and Tabi, and vice versa. So yeah.
While crypto has had a good run, especially in the year 2021, there are those who are saying that in times of trouble and panic, people still go to the old commodities and mineral resources that they've gone to before, like gold. Would you say this is true?
Remember, currencies is a tool of instrument, like any other tool of instrument. Currency is to define and represent transactions between human beings. And human beings need either food, either water, either housing, either this jacket that I've got on, either a hat or a laptop. So instruments of payment, whether it's fiat currencies or digital currencies or Bitcoin and Ethereum, is just a representation of that. So in times of crisis, regardless of what's going on, the bulk of people will always tend to gravitate towards the stuff that they actually need, which is food, which is toilet paper, which is laptops, which is this and that. A Bitcoin or a fiat currency is just a representation of those transactions between human beings.
While many governments all over the world are still not really recognizing crypto, there are governments who are toying with regulation. Do you think we're likely going to see more regulation coming through, especially in the year 2022?
In Africa, we have 53 states. Now, in those 53 states, we have 40 African states that have at least banned or have not recognized digital currency as a form of legal tender. I mean, this includes Namibia, Zimbabwe, Morocco, Algeria, Zambia, Swaziland, and even South Africa. So you need to understand, for Nigeria to go and do this and innovate in this manner is really remarkable, because it's to be honest, it's first of its kind. And I'd like to applaud the Nigerian government for this, because it's such an idea that is so light years ahead of them, and them going into the game now is going to put them at a much more favorable position 20, 50, 100 years from now, vis-a-vis us that are still lagging on in terms of adopting this new form of currency.
But the e-naira came because the Nigerian government was worried by what some were saying was a parallel market where people were starting to not use the naira as much and were moving to crypto because they didn't trust the naira. The e-naira came because of that.
No, I fully agree with you. And look, the thing about, here's the thing about Africa, right? The thing about African states and African nations, we don't have a developed financial system. And as a result of that, fintech, specifically when you look at e-wallets, when you look at M-Pesas, have been a wonderful means of transactions and sending money across borders, and sending money intrastate, because of weak financial systems that we've got. And fortunately for South Africa, we've got a very good banking system, but in a lot of other African states, as you traveling across Africa, that's not the case. So fintech specifically has been very successful in Africa. And I think with cryptocurrencies, with digital currencies, this is another step up that governments and or business entities could use to really, propel the use of fintech, the use of better technology, the use of more robust technology in order to get the same objectives or increase them. So I agree 100% with you.
What's this current crypto winter that the world is going through right now?
This is not the first crypto winter, by the way. The first crypto winter happened in 2017. And in 2017, after a very successful year, like 2017 was a very successful year regarding the Bitcoin price. It reached its ultimate, its peak value at 20,000 US dollars, right? But then in 2018, it fell to a record 78%. It fell by 78%. Just to give you a good understanding of that, beginning of the year, it was sitting at 20,000. By December 2018, the lowest value of Bitcoin was only 3,100. That's from 20,000 to 3,100. So that was the first real crypto winter that got the markets really, really buzzing and really worried.
The tax that the South African government wants to put on those that invest on crypto, isn't that some form of regulation?
So it is a form of recognition, but I would say it's not recognition in good faith, because taxing people and not recognizing the currency in its fullest to allow people to take advantage, to fully take advantage of that currency, hampers growth. It hampers its growth. It hampers the will of society. It hampers innovation for society to use that currency as they see fit.
Bataung Kotsokwane, thank you very much for being a part of our network. Bataung Kotsokwane there is with iAfrican. And with that, let's take a quick break. It's SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Welcome back. Here's what else took place in the rest of the world in the tech space.
Facebook owner Meta is working on artificial intelligence research to generate words through speech, improve how people chat to voice assistants, and translate between languages.
We are creating tools today to help people generate new words. And these tools will be AI assisted. So that technology, you can see, come into products in the coming years. This is not like far off completely technology. The question obviously after you'll see the technology be more and more flexible and more open. The number of things you'll be able to do, the number of objects you'll be able to recognize, the number of action. This is the kind of thing you can see improve over time. But we do believe that, to enable people's creativity, AI is going to be part of that from almost day one.
The social media company, which recently lost a third of its market value after a dismal earnings report, has invested heavily in its new focus on building the metaverse and changed its name to reflect this ambition. This month, Meta reported a 2021 net loss of $10.2 billion from its Reality Labs, the company's augmented and virtual reality business. And now in France. A robot that can concoct its own fondue using wine and cheese was presented for the first time at the Paris International Agriculture Fair.
L'idée de ce projet vient vraiment de l'envie de montrer que la Suisse peut être autant proche de ses traditions que de l'innovation. Et puis le fait d'allier ça à la fondue ou à la raclette avec le roboclette, c'est des éléments qui font facilement la discussion et puis qui sont marketingment parlant très marquants. Donc c'était un petit peu l'excuse idéale de travailler avec la fondue.
The 450-kilogram robot was brought to Paris by bus. It is also scheduled to participate at the Swiss Fondue Festival, which will take place in November. And now in Mexico. The country's America Mobile has launched 5G services in 18 Mexican cities and plans to spend $1.8 billion to kick off what regulators have said will become the largest 5G commercial network in Latin America. About 1 million Mexicans are now connected to the 5G network from subsidiary Telcel, part of the company owned by the family of Mexican billionaire Carlos Slim.
Va a tener un aumento sustancial en la capacidad de manejar datos, en la velocidad de descarga y en el tiempo de respuesta conocido como latencia. Va a permitir que la intensa comunicación que hoy se ha dado entre las personas se dé también entre las cosas. Va a permitir el desarrollo del Internet de las cosas, de los servicios inteligentes, de los dispositivos conectados a escala.
America Mobile previously said it hoped to roll out the services in 90% of the company's markets by the end of the year, which includes Brazil, the region's biggest economy.
Meta, the parent company of Facebook, Instagram and WhatsApp, has said that they will be testing a voice command or voice assistant. And our Twitter poll this week is asking you if you think this is a good idea in any way. Now, 38% of you say yes, that figure is in second place. There's 45% of you who say no, it's not a good idea. And in last place are people who say they actually don't know and they haven't made up their minds about this. And that's it. That's all we have for you. Find us on SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. It is News Network at sabc.co.za on email. From me, Spumelele Zondi, and the rest of the team, thank you very much for being a part of our network. Have a good one. Bye-bye.